Hey, family. So, self advocacy is simply our ability to speak up for the things that we desire and our need. And when our children, teens, students, when the people that we love, whom are in their adolescent stage, when they are not in our presence, when they don't have the privilege of having our counsel to make good judgment calls or to even make a decision, we want them to be equipped to self advocate in our absence. The goal is always self sufficiency on everything we talk about today on Excellence in Everything Live. And so that's our topic today, how to teach a teen to self advocate. And we're going to jump into it right after today's intro. You are excellence. Your mind is of excellence. Your visions are of excellence. Your unique superpower is nothing short of excellence. You amplify a voice of excellence. Your contribution to this world will be of excellence. You will achieve your highest goals and desires with excellence. You are capable of excellence. You have an inner power of excellence. You will achieve excellence in everything, every time. Happy Tuesday. I got to get used to saying Tuesday. I'm so excited that you are joining me live for Excellence in Everything. My name is Linnita Hosten, and my big, super bold, audacious vision is that our kids, all of them, when they leave their exit, their option in which they choose to elect college, military, trade school, wherever they are deciding to go, when they leave that pathway, that they are the 3 C's. They're very confident, they're very competent, and then they're competitive for their industry. Everything that I talk about, it is addressing those 3 C's in a very practical way for those who love teens, meaning you have some type of relationship with them. If it's not parental, you're a godparent, you are a coach, a mentor. Those who lead them, if you run a nonprofit organization or some type of leadership program, and those who teach them. So any capacity in which you have the privilege of being a part of the life of a teen, Excellence in Everything Live is to equip you to do so. So if you are watching tonight live in the flesh, let us just know that you are here. Y'all know the drill. Hey, Sierra. You can go ahead and type in I am here, or if you are catching the replay, you can type in hashtag replay. Hey, Tab. These are like fan faves that are here tonight. When they show up, I know I got some work to do because the topic is like valuable to them. Tab says, I'm excited for tonight's chat. I'm excited that you are here. Tab works with young women as well in a nonprofit. She runs her own nonprofit, so I know this tonight's topic is definitely of value. So I mentioned this really quickly. I said that self-advocacy is just the ability to speak up for the things that you need and desire. And when we are equipping young men and young women, my thought process is always years before they get to where they're going. And there's nothing more powerful than a young man or a young woman self-advocating for themselves when they're making a large purchase, like buying their first new car, when they're deciding or electing on that house or that apartment, when they're electing to involve themselves in any kind of relationship, whether it be romantic or platonic, some type of friendship. There's nothing more powerful than for them to opt to say, okay, what are the needs that I have? What are the desires that I have in those instances? And I feel like we teach self-advocacy, one, by modeling it. I don't even have nothing deep for y'all tonight. But when we talk about self-advocacy, the best way to teach it is to model it in any capacity. Psychologists call this the social learning theory, that we are likely learning the most when we are observing something repeatedly. And so ultimately, the best way to teach self-advocacy is to ask yourself, how am I self-advocating when I am in like the presence of any teens that I work with? And part of that really is displaying strength in areas that you have weakness, meaning sharing those. I know that I'm really adamant about sharing. I share everything with my sister. We're 10 years apart. There is not one area of my life that she does not know about. And I'm intentional about sharing even the low points because there's no such thing as perfection. I think we falsify what adulting looks like when we only share our wins. We want them to be equipped for life's hurdles, and we want them to be comfortable with addressing them by way of them verbalizing what their needs and desires are. the best way that we do that is by modeling it. So if there's an opportunity that you have, something came up and you have to speak up, or you had to speak up, like share it with them. If they can't experience it firsthand, like you holding the phone, having them on speaker, I want you to listen to this conversation, or telling them about it after it happens. But ultimately, modeling it is like, that's one of the best ways. That's the best way to learn. Think about this. When we see kids, even on TikTok, I'm adamant about TikTok being like a great place to go to do mindless things when I need like an escape. But the videos that I find funny, I have a lot of kid videos that pop up on my timeline. They're literally mimicking behaviors that they see their parents doing. So I saw one TikTok where a little boy was in the bathroom and he had put shaving cream on like this part of his face and was using the back of his toothbrush to go like this. He was literally modeling, obviously, what his dad must do in the morning time. It's a routine that he has seen repeatedly. And if you think about some of the behaviors that you've absorbed, good and or maybe not so good, it is likely that's learned behavior that you observed with your own two eyes. The best way to learn is through observation. And that is why it's so critical that we are intentional about the words that we use and the environments that our kids are in, because they're literally sponges to those things very early on. And so the best way to teach self-advocacy, again, the best way, I got 3 ways that I'm gonna share tonight, but the best way is for you to model it, for you to share when you have those moments and be like, express a little bit of, like not express, but have some strength in sharing the moments of opportunity for growth that you may have. But more specifically, I want us to let them watch. I want us to let teens watch. Oh, see, if you think about it, there's this, and when you have autonomy over something, meaning you have a level, you get to make the decision about it, or you get to lead, you get to control, to be quite frank. When you have autonomy over something, you never want to expose a moment of weakness. The goal is that you would be leading, fixing, driving, correcting, making it happen. It is when we have autonomy over something and it is exposed that we are not making it happen. We're not leading. We're not living up to those things. It is in that moment where our own self-concept is questioned. And that's just how we view ourselves. It's our perception of how we're showing up, how we see ourselves, our level of competency. And to some degree, it doesn't feel good to show anything other than perfection to those whom we have autonomy over. So this is actually a little bit challenging for those of us who struggle with ego and being in charge and being right all the time. But I just thought about to remind you that if you're teaching competence, having confidence, you can't do that without showing your humanness. And that is that you are not free of flaw and that there are opportunities for growth. That's the greatest way to learn, is to teach through your imperfections. And so that might mean you got to take your mask off. Sometimes we call it a savior's hat, to really demonstrate and show some of the principles that we want our kids to embody. So let them watch. Okay, that's real easy. I don't have no complicated stuff. None of this stuff is ever complicated. It don't cost you no money. It costs you a little bit of time, maybe a little bit of conversation, but that's about it. And they're all things that I think, or I feel confident that most people can do. Here's number 2. I want you to allow them to practice. They need time to practice the skill set that you want them to embody. First, they need time to process what you shared, and then they need opportunity to practice. This is the part that I feel like we omit. We say like, I need you to listen and watch. Like we say that, but the expectation is after you listen and watch, you should be able to do. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not learn as fast as I would like. I have to see something repeatedly, or I have to be in environments repeatedly for it to click. And when I was in college and I was active on my step team, everybody was learning the material so fast. And I had to practice longer, but even in my practice time, when I would come back, sometimes I would be better, no shade, than those who've learned faster. So I would say give them an opportunity to allow them or to allow you to see what you shared. So they need time to practice. My biggest memory of self advocacy would be when my sister was a freshman. She was going to a new school and she wanted to join the cheerleading team. She told me this. I emailed the coach weeks before school started. I told the coach that she was interested. She had been training with my team at the time where I was coaching cheerleading and that we were very interested in tryouts. Please keep us posted on the date. Fast forward, school starts and they have a whole team already formed. So she comes home from school and she's like, they have a team already, and I didn't even get a chance to try out. And I was like, well, what did you say? Did you have a conversation with the coach? That would be self advocacy, right? You knowing that your parent reached out and you know you really wanted to be a part and you've been practicing. So let me go have a conversation with the coach just to like further ensure that I'm interested. Well, she said no. And in that moment, I could tell that that kind of conflict was not comfortable. And I said, okay, tomorrow I'm going to pick you up and then I'm going to go in and have a conversation with the coach. Because sometimes self advocacy is learned through observation. While you may be leading it, they're still learning. So I don't know how I got there that day, but I got there a little early. I told her I was there. I asked her to come meet me at the door. We walked into the coach's office. All of the cheerleaders was there. I was hot, by the way, because we was doing our due diligence. At least I thought. And so when I met the coach, I said, hey, I introduced myself and I said, I know we emailed you over the summer. We were corresponding, trying to get ahead of the recruitment schedule. And she's really ready. She's been training with my team. She could essentially try out today. Like that was me self-advocating on behalf of my sister, but she was very present and watching. And so the coach said, I do remember getting your email. And while we do have a team already established, because it was my lack of due diligence, I will allow her to try out, but she has to try out today. I turned around and I said, you ready to try out today? And she was like, I'm ready. And she was, and she made the team. So I had to take her home, change her clothes so she can come back and so she could try out. And then when I picked her back up after trials, I said, how did it go? She was like, I made it. And I said, how does it feel to not allow something that you really want to just, what if you didn't say anything? She said, I would have been sad. I would have been feeling some kind of way the whole year. And essentially, that's what we do when we lack the confidence to self-advocate and or the inability or the tools to do so. We don't. We just like take what life gives us. We say, okay, well, I'll just wait. When sometimes your lesson could really be in your push. Like, just ask. All you have to do is ask. And I think that was a very powerful way of illustrating to her when you want something and somebody has already, they say no, you can still ask and you just never know. So they have to watch and they need time to practice. So I think she's good in that department. Sierra said, that's good. I need it repeatedly too. Yes, and I think we all do. I don't think it's just a team thing. I think the reminder that one, you can ask is something that we often have to retrain our mind. I think we, out of fear of rejection, we not trying to get even a no. So who is actually going back to possibly get another no? Are you kidding me? Don't nobody want to do that. So yeah, it does. It takes a different kind of person to do so. And I mentioned this when I posted about today's topic, how to self-advocate, how I was over last week, I was watching Kanye West's documentary. And in no means am I an advocate of somebody being a narcissist because Kanye West is clearly that. He's very self-inflated, has a very inflated view of self to the point where it's almost like self-worshiping, in my opinion. But I can always see the good and even the bad. Always. So I watch the documentary from the lens of learning something. And typically I'm always learning from like what it was like for the person that I'm studying. What was it like for them as a child? That's the lens that I'm watching. And how did that manifest into their adulthood today? Well, when Kanye West, I don't know if you saw the documentary, but there was a scene when he was trying to get on the Rockefeller label and he was producing music for them already, but no one was taking him serious. And he went into the office boldly. He was self-advocating for sure. No one invited him to the Rockefeller Records to come and play his new song. And he was like, "No, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna share my music." because I want them to know I'm serious, which is a great way to self-advocate. So anyway, he walked in, played his music. Ain't nobody was paying him no mind. They didn't even acknowledge the music. They were like literally working around him. And he left the office. And in the documentary, he went to go see his mom. After he got rejected, he went to go see his mom. And I was really curious as to how this was going to turn out. So, and I didn't know much about Kanye before watching the documentary. But what I noticed is when he got to his mom's house, he was literally there for validation. He needed his mom's stamp of approval. Like, it's going to be okay, keep going. But she didn't say that. She affirmed the heck out of him. She said, I know you're going to be great. It's just a matter of time. You keep doing what you got to do. It was no like, it's okay, baby. Like, you know what? It's their loss. She affirmed him so much so that I could see how he built up an inflated sense of self. It's almost like the only option was to be great because she was literally saying that to him. You are greatness, baby. Your stuff is amazing. She was reciting back lyrics that she remembered or recalled that he wrote as a kid. That's some powerful, like if you want to stand behind your child, regardless of if you think it is going to happen, whether you want it to happen, whether you don't want it to happen, and affirm them in such a way. When he left her, nothing had changed, by the way. He still wasn't on Rockefeller Records. But you could tell like he went for, it was a place of safety, but it was a place of being refueled. So she had affirmed him. What I learned from watching that is how he had the courage to even self-advocate, because someone was molding his mind about how much he could and how great he was. When that's your starting point, then speaking up for the things that you desire, that's small stuff. And that's how we want our kids to be. We want them to think like it's a big challenge, but it's small in comparison to how God sees me. And he was saying like, I know God destined me to be great. I know I'm going to be. And he was 19. That's the part that gives me chill bumps. For a 19-year-old to say, I know I'm going to be great. I know it's just a matter of time. I know I deserve to be. I was mind blown. And I was like, you better go ahead, Donda. I was like, yeah, go ahead, Donda. Yes, Tab said 10 toes down, like she was rallying for her son. Now, I'm not saying that, he is free of flaws, because that's sure not the case, because he is very flawed. But again, you can always find the good. Well, my job, my instinctual nature is to always find the good in everything, even the ugly, because there's always a learning opportunity. So I love that. Before I jump into my last one, I don't know if you saw this today, but today I posted on Facebook that I'm waiving my speaker's fee for graduation season. I actually waived it for all of 2022 in exchange for bulk order book sales of The Pursuit of Black Excellence for Teens. That simply means that I would not charge you to come and speak if you elect to purchase a minimum quantity of 20 copies of The Pursuit of Black Excellence for Teens. And I want you to take a peek inside the book. With over 30 activities, journal prompts, quizzes, short activities, information on prominent figures, and historical learning opportunities, plus QR codes with supplemental learning videos, the workbook is a great tool for group learning within community organizations and school groups, or self-paced learning with parents and their teenaged children. So copies of The Pursuit of Black Excellence are available for individuals. So if you run a nonprofit, if you are a school leader and you're looking for graduation speaker, you haven't selected one yet, I would love to come and serve you. It could be virtual or in person. I want you to reach out. You can either write a note in the comments, whatever platform that you're watching from, and Chanel will be glad to respond to you if I'm available that day. I would love to be a part of your organizations. Now, I'll be honest, my speaker's fee for nonprofits is $3,500 and it goes up to $5,000. I'm completely waiving that in exchange for the purchase of bulk book orders. And I want you to ask me why. Ask why in the comments. Hey, Ken, thank you so much. Thank you. He said, this looks good and sounds good. The goal is excellence in everything, every time. And so I'm grateful that you acknowledge that we definitely want to look good and sound good. Yes, it is a great incentive, and it's actually a really great tool. So not only do you get me to come and speak, but you have the option to give your audience something that outlives me coming for 20 to 30 minutes. Sierra said, why, sis? Why in the world would you do that? Because technically that's not profitable. The reason why is because my goal this year is to distribute 1,000 copies independently of the pursuit of Black excellence for teens. And the only way to do that number aggressively is through bulk orders. And so that is why I am offering my voice in exchange to meet that goal. So again, if you're looking for a graduation speaker or you have an end of celebration ceremony, you got a banquet, you could scoop me up for very nominal, to be honest, in comparison to the invoices that I sent. And so I'm inviting you to do so. Again, if you're interested, you can drop in. Please email me. You can drop your email address, and then I'll have Chanel on my team reach out to you so that we can get that scheduled. Yeah, Sierra said that's good. God gonna do it. Yes, He is. Exceedingly abundantly above all we can ever ask, imagine, and or think. I do believe that. And when your heart is in the right place, I do feel like God rewards those who diligently seeks Him. And my heart is definitely in the right place. Okay. So last one, a great way to teach your teen to self-advocate is to literally celebrate the behavior that you see. I hate to use this analogy, but I have a dog. He's 3 years old. If you really want him to do something, I'm trying to teach him to roll over and paw. He hasn't gotten that yet, but he can go get the toy. He can go upstairs. He can sit down, lay down. He could get off and get out. I want him to roll over. So we're practicing that. And when I see him lay on his back with his hands up, I always throw him a treat immediately. They teach you that in training, that for an animal, well, for dogs, I can't speak for any animal, for a dog to understand that what you're asking of them, they're getting the concept, like confirming that they understand you correctly, and they're doing it, is to reward them immediately, like as soon as it's done. And the same concept, well, I hate to compare our children to a dog, but the same concept about celebrating the behavior that you want to see. So when you see a teen speaking up for what they need, that is not the time to minimize their need. When you see them self-advocating for what they're passionate about, that is not the time to denounce the interests or project your own insecurities or shortcomings for not having a passion. That is not the time. Self-advocacy is a very hard skill to have the courage to practice. When we see our kids practicing it, we acknowledge and celebrate it. If you have something that you'd like to add to what they're asking for or saying, do that after you've acknowledged the behavior. So I'll give you an example. Let's say they're saying, you know what, I just feel like I really don't need you to come with me to the mall because at this point, I'm 11. I could go into the store by myself. Now, I agree that they should not be in the store or the mall, any public place for that matter, alone. However, what they're trying to say is, I feel like you've given me, or I feel like I can be trusted with the level of responsibility to get to point A and point B. Can you give me an opportunity to show you that? That's what they're saying. So I would need for the recipient of that, coach, mommy, mentor, godparent, for that to transmit, and for your response to be, I love that you're ready and you feel responsible. That's what I love. That's my guy. But I'm not quite ready for you to do it alone. So you could still give in your correction, but don't do it before you acknowledge like the intimate skill that you want them to have. Because what happens is, if you continue to minimize it, coddle, then that doesn't register that that's the behavior that my parent wants me to have. So I would say acknowledge it and then give your correction, but give them an opportunity to show you or give them an opportunity for you, give yourself an opportunity to acknowledge the behavior and celebrate them when they're practicing it. Ken said, celebrate the behavior. Great point. Absolutely. And it's just through words. Again, I didn't say go buy something, reward them with something tangible. These things, very practical, that we talk about every Tuesday. They don't cost any money. They will cost you a little bit of time, a little bit of conversation, but that's about it. So when we talk about self-advocating for our kids or teaching self-advocacy, those are the 3 very practical ways we can do so. Let them watch you. So that means you should be practicing self-advocacy. Even in your moments of opportunity, I won't call it a weakness, opportunities for growth, allowing them to see you self-advocate for you. Or verbalizing opportunities or moments where you had to self-advocate. Let them watch you. The second thing we talked about was let them practice. So whether that's secondhand practice or firsthand practice, but give them like the space to do so. And not expecting it to happen immediately. Some of us need time to process that. And then the last one was let's celebrate the behavior. While we may not be ready for them to display that level of autonomy or that level of leadership or that level of control, what we want to do is acknowledge that they even have the desire to speak up in that way. And that is a powerful skill that we want them to have. That's it. So that is our topic for tonight. My goal is always to keep our time under 30 minutes. And we are at the 27-minute mark. And I'm really grateful that you joined me today. Next week, we'll be talking about words to avoid when communicating with teens, okay? So while I may be helping you develop these very practical tools to work with them, to love on them, to teach them, and to arm them, there are other words that we can use and or avoid so that we are continuing to build what we call extension cord relationships. That's like me. I'm an extension cord to the power source that exists inside of a child's home, which I also define as the neonatal intensive care unit. I'm really grateful that I get to do this work, and I'm glad that you decided to join me tonight. So I will see you next Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, right here on live streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, and or if you thought the content was good, share it with somebody or let a sister know. I'll see you next week. I love you. It's absolutely nothing you could do about it. You are excellence. Your mind is of excellence. Your visions are of excellence. Your unique superpower is nothing short of excellence. You amplify a voice of excellence. Your contribution to this world will be of excellence. You will achieve your highest goals and desires with excellence. Excellence in everything, every time.